Good afternoon. This is Studio 25. Today we're going to be interviewing three teachers, Mr. Beckett, Mrs. Beckett, and Mr. Jones, all about the previous strike that had just happened the other day. Would any of you like to fill us in on anything that, like everything that had been involved with that, like what it was, why you did it?
So the strike was about a contract that was signed a year and a half ago. So basically, every so often, our contracts come up for renegotiation. And a year and a half ago, actually longer than that, because we had been negotiating for quite some time leading up to that moment, we were negotiating our new contract. And that was kind of a contentious negotiation that resulted in the union being prepared to strike. Now, at the last moment, Mayor Steinberg stepped in and forced the two parties together, and they hammered out a contract that was signed by members of the union and by Superintendent Aguilar. Now, one of the parts of that contract was creating a more robust salary schedule that would make Sacramento City Unified School District a more competitive district compared to the neighboring districts, because we tend to lose teachers as they get to about their 11th year. They look for neighboring districts where they can make more money. Obviously, they have to think about their families and where they want to spend their career, where it's going to work out the best for them. So we tend to lose a lot of teachers that would otherwise be loyal to Sacramento City Unified School District, and we want teachers to be loyal. Now, another part of the contract was the district always wants to go after our benefits. And we have good benefits, and we want to keep our good benefits. Now, we, however, made an offer to them that they could shop around to try to find the level of benefits we're getting for cheaper, and they could probably save a lot of money doing that. But the stipulation was that they take the money they save from getting a better bargain on our benefits, and they put that directly towards the students. And the way that we wanted them to spend that was to lower class sizes and to hire more psychologists, more social workers, more nurses, services that directly affect students on site at all of their schools. And at the time of the signing of that contract, the district had a surplus of something like $96 million. And I don't remember exactly what the number was, but it was huge. What happened in the intervening time is that the district ramped up its spending and spent a lot of money irresponsibly, money that wasn't budgeted, and they ended up in the hole. Now, what they want to do is they want to take the money that they would save on our benefits and use that as a bailout for their poor spending, rather than use it on the students, as was agreed in the contract signed by both parties about a year and a half ago.
I just want to add in a quick question. This was your first strike, right, Mr. Jones? Was it exactly what you would have expected from a strike?
Yes and no. I didn't necessarily have any expectations or any ideas about what it would be. I mean, I guess my only experience with strikes was seeing stuff on TV. So we had picket signs. We were walking back and forth. We were chanting. So in that way, I guess it was kind of lived up to the expectations in a way. But I mean, overall, one major thing that I took from it was really just the time to talk to colleagues and get sometimes about the strike, sometimes just about the profession. And so it ended up being, for me, in addition to it being a strong day for the union, it was also a beneficial day just to connect with colleagues.
So could you tell us how the strike went? Do you think that the district will make a decision to spend money better in the future, or try and come to a compromise at least? Or do you think they'll just continue to be the way they are and intractable, I suppose?
Well, what we've seen leading up to this is the district has had a hard time making decisions and actually getting things done. The reason that we didn't go, we called for a one-day strike. We needed to draw attention to what was going on here. And we're actually concerned that the district wouldn't necessarily be able to actually do anything. So we kind of needed to draw attention to things, get them on notice, and have them realize that, we're serious. We've done a lot of work on this. And so instead of having everybody have to go out for an unlimited, period of time, we could be out for weeks if we can't get them to actually do what we need, get them to actually act. So we needed to kind of draw attention. That's why we called for the one-day strike. And then we may in the future have to do a strike again. We've offered 2 days, the tomorrow and Wednesday. So Tuesday the 23rd and Wednesday the 24th. And as far as I know, we haven't heard back from them.
And just to kind of elaborate on that, every teacher that was on that picket line would rather have been in the classroom. Despite what the district might try to present and what some of the media might try to present, we did not get into this profession for the money. We clearly got involved with this because we like education, we like students, and we believe in education, and that is what we would like to be doing. However, this is a fight that is worth fighting for because it is for our students ultimately. And so our district needs to know that we will draw a line, and we will fight for what we believe in.
It's not like just personal gain that the strike is for. It's for students as well, and that you wanted to like break that misconception that teachers are just greedy and they just wanted money from the strike. So, but you did mention that further strikes might be a possibility. So like there is AP testing coming up, and for those teachers that are teaching an AP class, how do you think that might affect students who are just going to get a substitute, or like last time, just going to be herded in the gym when they could be studying for an AP test?
Well, first of all, we don't even know if the strike would occur during the school year. It could happen at the beginning of next school year. You had mentioned this was Mr. Jones's first strike. It's actually all of our first strike, even those of us who have been in the profession for 13 years or more. The last strike in Sac City was 30 years ago. And I was actually a student in Sac City at that time. And it was at the very beginning of the school year. We showed up to class, and there were subs in all classrooms. And they had a really hard time keeping subs there. It's not necessarily something that's going to happen during this testing period. Obviously, we don't want to affect the students any more than we can. I will say, as having been an AP teacher, that a lot of what it comes down to with AP is individual studying. There's really only so much the class can do to prepare students for the test. Were it to happen during that time, certainly I would encourage students to spend the time they would spend in class doing studying specifically for the test, and there are all kinds of material and programs available for them to do that.
I was thinking about this earlier today. So you want the students to stand by you guys, and if we come to school, it's kind of not really standing by you guys as much as we could. But if the strike goes on for too long, that can affect us seriously. We'll have too many truants. It would just kind of like backfire on us. So would you suggest that we come to school even if we're not going to get any kind of education, or we're just going to be sitting in a gym, or we're just going to be sitting in a classroom with a substitute with nobody teaching us anything? Would you suggest for us to come in or to stay home?
It's, coming in for that one day and not doing anything, isn't that big of a deal in terms of your education. But you're right. What if we authorize a strike and it went on for 2 weeks? At a certain point, we're all human beings. We want to use our time wisely and for the benefit of ourselves. And so I would empower you to make the decision that you want to make. And you do bring up a good point that the longer a strike is, the more detrimental it is to your education, and the more detrimental it is to our wallets, because we don't get paid on those days. And if we went on strike for a week or 2 weeks, that would be a quarter to a half of our paycheck we don't get for a month, which would be, I'm not in a financial position where I can really take that much time off. But then again, that's the power of the strike. Because the power of the strike is that it puts that pressure on the district. Because while we lose money personally, the district loses money exponentially more. And they would also see that your education is being jeopardized. And that is kind of a bizarre aspect of the strike, is that as much as we want to look out for your education, a part of it is putting your education on the line for the long-term betterment.
I would agree with that. I think it's definitely a personal choice. You guys need to do what you and your families, suggest for you to do. I know for us, our children will be walking the picket lines the whole time with their teachers, that their teachers will be out. We're obviously both educators, so we're vested in this. But even if we weren't, I can't guarantee the environment that my children would be going into if they were to cross that picket line. They have hired emergency replacement teachers, and there's very little qualification for what that means. So, as far as coming here, those emergency teachers are going to be sent to the elementary schools first. They're going to need to staff those first. They are a top priority. So as far as what kind of an education you're getting here, if you do come, yes, if it's an extended period of time, you're like, what, you're missing out on your education. But if you do come, what education are you actually getting? Because who are these people that are coming in? And we are professionals. We've gone through a certain level of training. We have to be, you can't just get a credential. Yeah, you can't. So we have certain training, and that is, what we're fighting for is making sure that we have educated professionals in all of our classes. So as far as if your family does want you to come, you do what your families suggest that you do. But I just question what kind of an education are you actually getting if you do show up?
Yeah, and just to add on what both of them were saying, or at least about the purpose of a strike and why we're willing to put certain things on the line and disrupt, is because at a certain point we have to disrupt a system that is not working, or we just accept that system as it is. And so we are looking at the long term, and sometimes that means making some sacrifices in the short term in order to make gains in the long term. And that's where we are, is that if we don't do anything, then we just accept the irresponsible spending, the priorities that we see the district showing as being kind of out of whack with what we think they should be. So that's why we disrupt.
Then one more thing to add on it, I think about Colin Kaepernick's protests of the NFL a couple years ago, and the criticism that he got and being told to do it on his personal time. And a strike is a form of protest, and there's never a convenient time to do a strike or a protest. It will always be detrimental to a lot of people. And again, that is the purpose and that is the power. That doesn't mean that we want to hurt people. It just means that's just the nature of the game, and that's a certain power that you wield responsibly in the hopes of, as Mr. Beckett said, preventing that long-term pain of disrupting the system so that in the long term things get better.
Awesome. So with the last 5 minutes, I just want to ask you all, I want to get all of your opinions on how it went and how you think it's going to unravel, briefly, so kind of a recap. So.
I thought the strike went well. I really have no idea if it's going to be successful or not, being new in the district, just not knowing how the district works a whole lot. So I can't really say if the strike achieved its goal, and I really have no idea if it's going to.
Yes, I think it went well on Thursday. I know that we offered the dates before, basically that Friday right after, and said, let's meet, let's get back to this. And I don't think they've taken us up on that yet. I am hopeful. I do think that, as has been mentioned, we have to do this because we have to do this for our students. We look at those of you that were here, that had the math class. There was a math class that went a year without a teacher, really. There was the year before, there was a Spanish class here that went a year without a teacher. And so those kids all suffer. If you're in a Spanish class without a Spanish teacher, you're not getting Spanish for a year, and so some kids were affected here, some weren't, but this is more prevalent at some of our lower socioeconomic schools, and you'll have elementary schools where you can't hire a teacher. And those are some of our neediest students where we should be providing that stability for them, and they're not getting it. And so this is what we're fighting for. And so I am hopeful that we can be effective, and it does. It hurts all of us to be out. We, as has been mentioned, we are teachers. We want to be in our classrooms. We would rather be with our students doing our jobs. And that's kind of what we're fighting for. So I'm hopeful that we can make some change. and have a fully staffed district for all of our students.
Just to echo what they said, I don't know where this will go from here, but I will say that what we saw on the Thursday before break, on the day of the strike, was a very strong level of unity with the teachers. I think it was 98% of teachers were on the picket line, and that sends a strong message to the district that its teachers are serious, and counselors and school psychologists, because it wasn't just teachers. It was many others represented by our union, as well as classified staff represented by other unions who were on the picket line. So those are their employees. It's okay for them to value their employees, and they need to. They need to listen, and they need to negotiate. And they, first of all, need to honor their commitments, which is really what this was about in the first place. A contract that's a year and a half old that they signed.
Thank you so much for explaining everything. It like brings a better perspective instead of people just assuming that, oh, teachers are just greedy. Now people can like understand that it's for the students, you know, it's not something that they want to do. It's almost like a last resort to prompt action from the district. So this has provided like a better perspective and understanding of the strike for students who might have been confused about it.